Hey everyone, welcome to another Space Marine Saturday. Today I'm going to show you how to paint this Blood Angel Space Marine. I primed the model gray and then gave it an entire base coat of Mephiston Red. The key to this step is just doing as even of a coat as possible and getting as great of coverage as possible as you are laying down the foundation of the Blood Angel armor. I then gave all the armor a Carroburg crimson shading. This shading will get in all the recesses and give all the armor some really nice definition and, of course, some shading. The key to step is once again getting a nice even coat over the entire model in a single step. When the shade was dry, I gave the entire model a highlight with Evil Sunz Scarlet. Remember to make sure that you keep the recesses shaded, because it'll once again keep that really nice detail in the armor while highlighting all the exposed areas. Remember that the goal of this process is to build up layer by layer of different shades of blue and then to tie them all together using the new Glaze product. I know that there's a lot of footage for this step, however, this particular step was probably the longest and most time demanding of all of them, therefore I decided to show as much of it as possible. And here's what the model looked like when it was finished with the first highlighting. I then did a second highlight with the matching layer color Wild Rider Red, which is actually kind of like a light orange. I highlighted the shoulder pads, the helmet, the backpack, anywhere in particular that the light would be hitting on the model. Once again, the step was actually relatively time demanding and was one of the longer steps, therefore I showed you as much of the footage as I can. What I think is really cool about the new Citadel paints is that the goal with these Marines is actually create some nice contrast through layers of highlighting and then to tie them all together afterwards using a glaze of the same color. Therefore, the next step was to once again tie them all together using a Bloodletter glaze, which is a nice red glaze, and it'll tint all of the reds and bring them down a little bit to just to bring them all closer together and make them all look really nice. As I mentioned before, the key is to do very, very thin layers of this glaze and make sure that they're even throughout the entire model. If after the first glaze has dried and you feel like you want a little bit deeper of a color, feel free to do another one. Just make sure to keep them very thin. Now that the armor's done, I focus on the vents, the gun, and the gaps in the armor by painting them all Abaddon black. Since this is a base color and it's very thick, I made sure to dilute it a little bit with Vallejo thinner. That way I can get a very smooth, even coat on all of these parts without it building up too much. I then painted all the metallic areas, which actually ended up only being the parts of the gun, Ironbreaker. This color is a nice medium toned silver, which will later then bring out the detail using a shade. I painted the symbols on his chest, his backpack, and his gun Administratum gray. I then gave all these areas a Nuln oil shade, which will get in all the recesses and give it some nice blackened detail on all the metal areas and give it slightly older of an appearance. I then re-highlighted all the gray areas with Administratum gray, keeping the recesses the new shaded tone. I then painted his gun strap Ballor brown, which is a nice deep brown. Once again, to give an older appearance, I gave the entire strap an Agrax Earthshade. which will greatly mimic the color of leather on the strap. I base coated his eyes and the symbol on his forehead Warboss green. This creates some contrast. You don't want to use red eyes if you have an entirely red model. I then gave both these areas a Biel tan green shade, just to give them a little bit more definition. When the shade was dry, I painted the center of the eyes and highlighted the leaves with Moot green. And lastly, I used a little bit of white scars and painted a tiny dot in the corner of each eye. And finally, to protect the model, I gave it entirely a satin varnish. And that's it. You now know how I painted up my Blood Angel Space Marine. I really enjoyed painting this guy up. I think it turned out really well. Once again, I think the all-star of this painting scheme has to be the Glaze, which tied all the reds together and produced a really nice red tone. If you're thinking of trying to produce a darker tone, I recommend maybe doing another wash or just darkening each color as you go. But yeah, that's it. I think it turned out really well. I hope you enjoyed this Space Marine Saturday. So as always, thank you to all you awesome people out there for watching my videos. You truly keep me going. Please like the video, leave a comment in the section of any groups you'd like me to paint next, and subscribe to my channel if you already haven't done so. So thank you very much once again. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting everyone.